Good evening and welcome to the Public Works Committee meeting. It is Thursday, November 16, 2023. To the clerk, can you please take a roll?
Council Vice President Vargas,
Present.
Councilwoman Jermaine, Councilman Ferry,
Present.
Councilman Wall,
Here.
Councilwoman Renzulli, Councilman Donegan,
Here.
Councilman Campiano,
Present.
Council President Marino.
Present. Thank you. Next order of business is the approval of minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the October 12th, 2023 regular meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, to the clerk, please take the roll.
Council Vice President Vargas.
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes. Thank you. On to the next item of business. It's committee business matters that were carried over. I have 4 items under Council Vice President. The first item is the bike lane delineator, flexible posts in Narragansett Boulevard. It actually goes hand in hand with the second bullet that I have on there, which is the cost of the delineator flexibles for Narragansett Boulevard, and would like the administration to research the cost on what it takes to add and how many would actually be needed. Before our interim director of public works gives us a little bit of an update on that. I want to thank you for going out to Patuxent Village and doing a couple of things that are needed and also looking at the delineator. So where are we in terms of the cost?
Yeah, so I did look at the delineators, a little bit more specific research. I was able to find a delineator that is not bolted into the ground. It's actually adhered to the ground with basically a strong sticker. Those came out to $46 each. Based on some quick math, we're going to need about 250 of them out there, give or take. It's not totally specific, but 250 times $46 is $11,500.
Thank you. When you were doing some research, were there any possible grant opportunities that were out there at all? And I'm only asking you, I have not asked a grant writer yet, but I figured I'd start off with your office first.
I'm not aware of any grants available for bike lanes out there. Not to say that there's not any. I'm just not aware of them right now.
Okay. I stumbled on one, which is the one that I wanted to forward over to our grant writer. I'll send that over to you as a matter of fact, and we can give that a look.
Yep.
In the meantime, the ones that you did research on, the ones that the delineators that would adhere to the road, what's the lifeline on those? Only assuming that the car doesn't obviously, go into it. I know the ones that are bolted down, typically you bolt them spring all the way up until maybe late fall. So that way, when wintertime comes, usually you take those out. So if you have to plow, you do so. I'm just wondering how.
So I looked at these to space them at least 10 feet off of the curb line, so a plow could get in between them. The lifespan on these I'm predicting is about 1 to 2 years.
1 to 2 years?
Correct, yes.
So my only concern on these is that if we're spending that amount of money for just a one cost savings for the city at all. And so the ones that get bolted down, I mean, I've seen some that are pretty beaten up. It does require, like I said, if the city so chooses to remove those and then bolt them down or leave them as they are, assuming that there is accessibility for the public works trucks to shovel the snow or, plow the snow on those areas.
Yeah, no,
Did you get the cost on the alternative on the bolted one? I think you
The-
mentioned it last time as what you thought it was, but I didn't know if that's exactly what the cost was.
So you can use the same delineators to bolt them in the ground. You just don't buy the adhesive pad at the bottom of them. The delineator by itself, I don't know if you have to buy a specific footing or specific bolts or anything with it, but just the delineator itself is $38. There's another $8 for the adhesive pad. That's how I got to the 46. So you could use the same delineator and just have a different installation method. I don't know what the additional cost would be for a specific footing on that.
And is that something we can do in-house in terms of actually bolting them down onto the road?
I would have to check exactly what kind of equipment we have in highway. That's another reason why I went with the adhesive one. It's a much easier application.
It's easier, but I don't think it's cost effective, to be quite honest. That's my real concern, to spend 11 grand every year on them. Obviously, the public safety is always our priority, but I also have to be mindful of that cost savings. So, why don't we have a conversation, and I'm happy to also forward you that email in terms of the grant.
Okay.
The one grant possibility for grant funding. I can't remember if it was through DOT, but there was definitely a grant that was out there. I would like to know, if we have the power to, place those up on our own. I know that many municipalities, it's their own staffing who does it. There's no reason why we outsource, but I'm just curious. We
Yeah, I can look
confirm
into that. I'm
as
just
well.
thinking that the drill, to drill the holes in the, I'm not sure if we have one of those, so I can check on that.
All right, great. I mean, it's a great way to pilot the opportunity here in the city of Cranston, because I don't think we have those anywhere in the city, right?
Not for bike lane separation, no.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep.
Any question? Oh, Councilwoman Renzulli.
Thank you. Director, I'm just curious if, while you're doing this, did you come across how much, the stickers are when you buy them without the delineator? Like if you have to replace a sticker? That's how we could better assess what the price would be going forward. You just might need new stickers or some kind of,
The stickers are $8 a piece.
okay. And there's no type of like a glue that could be used instead of the stickers,
There may be, but we would still have to buy some sort of pad
Mhm.
to
Put it
protect
on.
the delineator from the road.
Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you for that. We'll follow up on that. Again, my concern is an adhesive, and even if there was a cost, because that dollar amount would say be for the delineators along with the adhesive. I don't know how secure those adhesives are in terms of anyone kind of just grab them going. I'm not familiar with the adhesive. But I'm just, I'd be happy to explore that opportunity, but I just don't think that as far as the cost, if they're gonna be.
Yeah,
an
we can
excessive
certainly
amount.
keep the conversation going.
Yeah,
No
all
problem.
right, appreciate it. The clerk, I'll keep that on the docket for the next Public Works on the, if we can actually just, I think if we just put delineators, flexible posts, flex poles, just delineator flex poles in the city, that would be great, because I don't think I have to be as specific. I could be wrong. We'll leave that as it is. And then the next item was municipal road and bridge program opportunities. Actually, I'm all set on that one. I was actually emailed that information just a few days ago. The other item was the city playground assessment. So I think, thank you. Justin, I'll refer over to our Director of Park and Recs on here. Director Moretti. Thank you. So I'm curious as to if there's been any assessments along the various park and the potential cost analysis. But if you could give me at least an update on the assessment that's been done. We'll start off with the assessment that's been done over at Smith Street Playground. I believe for anyone that ends up watching this, and even for the council members, so they all know. It is my understanding that the Smith Street bid has gone out already, and it was advertised in the Cranston Herald, and I saw that on there. And the Edgewood Playground is, I believe the Park and Rec Director has already been there and started to remove some of the, I'll call it toys for lack of better word. So I appreciate the fact that there is some movement going on along the lines of the parks. What I'm looking forward, at least for this evening, and I can't speak on behalf of any other council, is, what are we doing, to assess our playgrounds? Not just Ward 1, but I'm just curious throughout the city.
Yeah, I'll tee this up and Director Tasalia could enumerate any further details. I'll just talk about process and kind of summarize them. He's here to provide further detail as you request. What I'm passing out is a top line summary of the assessments that the Parks and Recreation Department has done for all school playgrounds, not necessarily all playgrounds in the city. But I think the priority, as discussed, I believe, to be with schools as the top priority. So that's what I'm passing out now.
Director, while you're doing that, I just want to ask the clerk or our legal counsel, when there's information that's provided to us at a council committee meeting or at a council meeting in general, can we add this to the record? Like, how do we make sure that if someone wants access to what we're looking at?
Have someone make a motion
Okay,
to accept it into the record.
thank you. Can I have a motion to add the item that was just passed on school playground assessment summary to the record?
I'll make a motion to accept the document, the school playgrounds assessment summary, November 16, 2023, into the record.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, seeing none, to clerk, can you please take the roll?
Council Vice President Vargas,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Council President Reno.
Thank you. Director, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. You might recall that Director Tasalia had prepared a report of in further detail each of the playgrounds actually throughout the city, including the ones that were non-school grounds. And so this is kind of, he had updated that information. And this reflects the summary of those school playgrounds, as I mentioned. To explain the schedule, I think this is kind of, hopefully it's what you're looking for, is taking all the school playgrounds and determining what he feels is the order of priority in terms of needing attention. So for instance, as you could see, SC, we could say that there's a couple of, I'll say those would be the top priority because there's safety concerns. Certainly we know about Edgewood, and including in Garden City. And then, and you can see the legend up top pretty much as we kind of trying to get the message across in terms of an A priority. It's the highest priority to prevent a safety concern, as if it continues in the midterm, we could have a safety issue. We want to prevent that, but it's coming close to being to that point. So we like to give that attention. The Bs are, say, moderate to say in the future. There is certainly the need to attend to these playgrounds, but it's not an immediate issue or something a bit in the maybe come springtime, by way of example, that we might want to have these things up to snuff. And then C's are more that there's no immediate safety concerns noted, and pretty much just require pretty much routine maintenance, maybe just little touch-ups type of thing. So I hope that brings some perspective to these playgrounds. And then, as you can see, there's a column identifying the playgrounds by ward, and a couple of some notations in terms of his consultation and arriving at the need and in arriving at the cost estimates as to who, if he spoke to people outside his department. And as you can see on the notations, the two that are labeled SC, the A priority, and some of the Bs, he actually has had some consultation. He has a very good relationship with Mr. LaRue, who I think most people will recognize as someone specialized in that field, and to have discussions, observations, and then also judging from any works done on prior park programs, what the cost would be for I'll call them defects or the improvements that should be done, in his quantification of what it would cost as an estimate to correct or improve the items noted in the detailed report. Some of these, we say improvement identified. Basically, that doesn't mean Mr. LaRue was there, but based on the experience of the Parks and Recs department, and also taking the wisdom, if you will, of Mr. LaRue, other professionals, being able to apply it to programs just by physical observation. That's what that means. Improvements identified, but internally identified, not a professional assessment per se on the outside. So this kind of enumerates, I'll say, the higher priorities and the lower priorities, and probably gives you a pretty good estimate of what the cost would be to improve or maintain those facilities to get them, pretty much as pristine as can be. So here's the numbers presented up top, and then you could see down the bottom, just summarizing it, the estimated costs by ward, if that's helpful. Mr. DeSalle is here, obviously, to delve into any specifics. So maybe I'll just leave it to him at this point, unless you have some broad questions for me.
Are there any questions at all on what was just provided to us this evening?
I do stand corrected. Oak Lawn, I made an error. I categorized that as Ward 6. It would be Ward 4. So that would change these numbers. If you want to make that notation, thank you very much.
Thank you, Director. Why don't we do this? If you can update this document and then make sure that the clerk that's sitting can disseminate that to all of us, that would be great, to the entire council versus the committee. Thank you. Director, good
Yeah.
evening.
Let me start by just telling where we are and what we've started on the two biggest ones, being first of all, the one that's already out to bid, the Smith Street Playground. I think it was advertised in the Journal and the Cranston Herald. So that is out. We did clean all that up. All the brush, opened it up, and the design and build is planned to go in there, replace the equipment, and put in wood mulch instead of the pea stone that they have that's existing. As far as Edgewood, as Director Moretti said, I had a few workers there today to take off some swing seats, handles, any other brackets or materials they feel they can use at other playgrounds in the city. Director Corso from the Highway Department has agreed to go in there and clean it up. And we plan on doing that next week. We thought about doing it tomorrow, but we had to take a fence down. I got to notify the school, and there was just too many things happening to get that done. It's probably a 2-day project. It's not that major a project. Again, that's where we are with the two major ones. The next line of duty is to tackle Garden City. Again, a lot of these on the bottom, the Cs, you'll see the same amount of numbers, 7,500. I just want to explain that a little bit. So that could be based on what we found, some of the equipment, and a lot of it is not major equipment, or it would be noted, just cosmetic stuff that you need. Most every playground does need the engineered fibered mulch. So, you figure on a couple thousand there to top it off. If other playgrounds need more, it will. So that's why that 7,500 and the 5,000 pops up so often, because those playgrounds are not in that despair in need. That could change tomorrow. Something could happen at Chester Barrels where their slide breaks and it's a $5,000 piece. And that's up to us to stay on top of this and keep you guys updated.
Thank you. And I just want to confirm again that as we're doing the assessments of our playgrounds, that there is perhaps an internal policy or best practices, so that way going forward, we are really, I'm not saying you're not, however, I just want to double check that we are doing these assessments correctly Again, I know these were assessments that were done in-house.
Right,
not
and again,
through
like I mentioned
subject
last
matter.
time, we had 4 or 5 different forms. My work has come in, take me the forms. I'm trying to formulate a system that'll work for all of us. So we're using one form. So in the meantime, in the haste of getting things done, we're getting out there, getting it done, and we will land on a inspection form that's universal through the city in due time.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Councilmember Wall.
I'm looking at the top two, the SC category.
Mhm.
And I see you spoke of Edgewood Highland and now you're talking about Garden City. Just two questions. I'm not familiar with the add-on, if PIP $70,000.
That's a poured in place rubber. So in other words, what we did is we gave you Garden City. I met out there with Landscape Structures, Ms. Megan O'Brien, and she had given me what, or with John LaRue, I believe it was. I'm sorry, Megan was at Edgewood. And he told me the parts that needed to be replaced, minor stuff to get that playground looking better. So that's the 10,000. Now, if rubber is going to be replaced there, because it has rubber, we're looking at more money. So we could do that when we tackle that one of two ways. We can excavate the rubber, leave the existing structures, put the parts in to get those structures up to par. That's not that far off. And that's the 10,000 you're seeing.
So just to follow up,
Yep.
when do you test or how do you determine if that rubber is what is going to be necessary?
Oh, we'll have it, the inspector go out there and test it again.
Just not to monopolize the time.
Pardon me?
When do you anticipate? Because that's on the highest priority list. When do you anticipate?
Yeah, it's up. Yeah, it's going on now. I got the first 2 projects out. That's my next line of duty is to tackle Garden City.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Director, just quickly, Garden City though, that's not the new school that just opened up.
No. That's the old one on the corner. Yeah.
Okay, I was just double
Mhm.
checking on that.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been good.
All right, thank you. Any further questions? Councilmember Ferry.
Yes,
Yes, well.
Director. You said that you're developing this checklist that you'll be able to use for all the playgrounds. Wasn't there one already somewhere in a file somewhere or on a computer that was used in years past? I mean, we've had a Parks and Recreation Department since the beginning of time.
I did not come across one. It wasn't.
Which one?
Like making out a checklist to assess the
No, it
playground.
wasn't in order when I took.
So if
when
they
I
did it in the past, they never left you there was no information anywhere?
Not left to me as far as checklists. There are, other forms, work orders and daily garbage pickup and stuff like that, but a checklist wasn't.
Councilmember Ferry, I think you're referring to probably earlier on, not this year, but possibly last year, we requested at some point, we did request a list again because of the playground concern where we wanted an assessment. I actually think you and I both agreed that it wasn't as thorough as actually it should have been. I remember sitting on that side. So I think there was some sort of, it looked very similar actually, Director, to the list that you had that's provided to us sometime where it had the name of the playground.
Right.
And maybe like some of the toy condition. It wasn't this.
Mhm.
I think we're talking.
Two different things?
You
Okay.
and I are talking about two separate
Oh,
things.
okay, go
I
ahead.
was just talking about, he said he's developing a checklist
Yeah, I'm
to
trying to
do the
get something
assessments.
that's,
Yeah.
that's easy, not
Yeah.
easy, but easy to use.
My question was, there wasn't one previous, like.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, that's,
My foreman's never, presented me with it, my administrative assistant, my assistant, so.
well,
Okay,
good luck making that out. Thank you.
we'll be all right.
Would it be helpful, just curious?
Yep.
To get a sense as to what other cities and towns do when they assess as well and maybe.
I have copies of multiple,
Yeah.
multiple. That's the ones we're using. Like one day last week, they used this version of it. And they get comfortable with a certain one. We'll try to put them all together and get one good form.
Okay, great. Thank you. We had a motion earlier with the assessment summary into the record because we've been given an updated one, which has been amended to our legal counsel. Do we have to make another motion to amend or replace I'm just seeking some legal advice or through the clerk. Just want to make sure we have the right one added to the record, as the old one had of the wrong ward under one of the playgrounds.
Be corrected.
It was just a minor, not, I want to say minor, but it was, yeah, so we good if we just keep it the same, it's the same document, just had the wrong ward. Is that okay? Okay, perfect, thank you. Just double checking with our legal counsel, you never know. All right, great, any other questions? Or anything on this item? Okay, great, seeing none. Thank you, Director. I appreciate your time being here this evening, and I'm going to continue to keep this bullet item under Public Works because I want to make sure that this continues and doesn't just fall through any cracks. All right, on to the next item. It is public comment. Is there anybody here in the public who would like to come and speak on any subject matter that's on the docket only? And this is the Public Works meeting. Yes, sir. Nope. Okay, thank you. Tom, is there anybody online that would like to speak on any subject matter docketed items?
There is no public comment.
Thank you. On to the public comments are closed. On to the next item, new matters before the committee. Councilmember Donegan, you have an item on there. And then that gavel over to you.
Yes, thank you. And I apologize, this is still on there. The docket had already been set. Was able to communicate with the director. My understanding is this was approved by VOCAP. And about how long do you expect until installation?
It'll be about 6 to 8 weeks for it to be delivered, and then it's going to be weather dependent on when it's installed because there's concrete work involved.
Thank you for the update. I appreciate your department and the administration's support on this to get this done, and I look forward to those being up on DIRF. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, perfect. Thank you. On to the next item under new matters for the committee. Councilmember Donegan, thank you for that. I have one other item on here, and that's replacing deceased trees across the city. To our interim director, there is so right around Broad Street, there's a lot of trees that are completely like diseased. I think unfortunately they're not with us any longer. They're there, but they really aren't. And so same thing with corner of Warwick Avenue and that's Warwick and Park. There seems to be a public lot there, and it's almost like a park and ride. And when you go by all summer, there's been it's a dead tree pretty much, and it's just standing. There's about 2 or 3 of them. As a matter of fact, one of the top directors of like DOT, I think it was, or Environmental Protection from the state, lives in Edgewood, and reached out to me and saying, what can we do about this trees? And they would like to know. And so that's why I'm bringing it to the attention of the city. What are we doing? We have an ordinance. It was passed last year, I believe it was, on trees right after like budget time or so. What are we doing with all these deceased trees? Is our arborist going out? I know it's fall, but I'm just curious. What are we as a city doing to replace them and remove them and replace with a new one?
So the removal is exactly what you said. We treat and remove dead, dying, and diseased trees. That's our policy. As far as replacing trees, the situation that you highlighted is a bit unique because there is no residence that lives behind that tree. But whenever there is a tree removed, we recommend that the property owner take advantage of our back of sidewalk tree planting program. That's usually our avenue to replace one that has been taken out if there's the appetite by the resident.
So I can show you actually Google hasn't updated their pictures, but I have one that I also took on my phone, or I can also email it just so you can kind of get a sense. It's not in front of a resident. residential property. It's right in front of the park and ride. It's actually not even on the sidewalk. It's like a little mini somewhat plaza. The ones on Broad Street, a lot of them were actually replaced by the private company who owns a couple of those homes that are on that street, but there's a lot of them that are on the sidewalk that, again, unfortunately are not with us. But the other ones on the park and ride, I'm just wondering, what we can do as a city.
Yeah, I've looked into that area previously. I don't know if I'm ready to speak specifically on that. I didn't research that specifically in preparation for this. There is an ownership issue with that lot. I believe that was originally a road. Instead of cutting over to Park Ave and then taking the right onto Warwick Ave, I believe that was just, you go right through there. And at some point, the state closed it off, and I have it listed as state property right now. That's the most I've gotten in terms of ownership.
The lot?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Yeah, we should talk about that because I was told otherwise.
Okay,
That
yeah.
it's actually on the city side, so we should
I
probably
could
talk.
very well be mistaken.
But I
That was my
thought,
brief research.
I thought that we had an ordinance that I think Council Member Donegan has drafted, and then there was another one that we all worked on that had notice, for example, like putting a notice when the tree's gonna go down, the whole process, shebang bang that goes with it, right? And my understanding, and I please welcome anyone to interject and correct me if I'm wrong. I thought that for every tree that was taken down, the city would put one up. Am I wrong on that?
No, you're not.
Okay. So I'm just making sure that if we not take down the tree, that we are putting another one up.
I can tell you that there is no budget that pays for trees to be installed in the public right of way. Our budget for tree planting is specific to the back of sidewalk tree planting program.
I didn't think so. Is anybody familiar with that ordinance? I don't have it in front of me. Why don't I do this? I'm gonna, just to have a more educated conversation on this. I'll continue it for next month's Public Works meeting. We can do some digging on there. If you can double check again that law is, if it's the city or if it's the state. I was told it was the cities, not the states, but that I'd love to confirm that. And, there's really no set process when there's like a dead tree or a diseased tree. It's more of us bringing it to the administration's attention, right?
Yes, usually we'll get calls from residents saying that they want their tree to come down.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
99% of the cases.
All right. I'll keep this on for next month's, just so we can do a little bit more digging on this, but I will give you the address, or if you can drive down first, you go to the intersection when you get a chance. I'm sure you're not gonna miss the trees that I'm talking about because they're
Yeah.
diagonally across from the fire station as well.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Wall, sorry.
Thank you. Just a quick question. You said most of your budget in that line is taken up by basically residents who have trees, at the end of their property that the city has to take down. Is that what you say?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I just heard you say that most of the budget in that line, most of the funds in that line go to taking down trees, diseased trees, or that are ready to come down. A resident will call and they take them down.
Correct, yes.
And I know there's a backlog on that,
Correct, yes.
approximately, just because I'm in an area where there's a lot of the situations. Approximately, what is the backlog?
The backlog has been decreased from 2 years to 1 year.
So 1 year, generally a diseased tree that's maybe gonna fall on a house or a power line or something like that. You say, it looks like it's coming down, 1 to 2 years.
When we get a request, it's all based on priority, right? Public safety is going to
Okay.
take top priority. The amount of budget that we have is not going to be able to handle every call that we get. So there are some that get pushed down the priority list to accommodate the public safety issues.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank
you. Any additional questions or concerns on this item? No? Okay, great. Next item is 10-23-02. That is ordinance and amendment of Title 13, Public Services, Chapter 13.08 of the City of Cranston, 2005, entitled Sewer Service System sponsored by Mayor Kenneth Hopkins. Is there someone from the administration that would like to come and? Oh, Director, go ahead.
Still here. Yeah, I hope no one went through the effort of reading this whole thing. A lot of technical stuff in there. In summation, this is all just clerical housekeeping. This is feedback we got from the state to specifically include federal requirements within our code. There is no change to anything. There are no changes in fees, no changes in policies, no changes in practices. It's just specifically stating the requirements that the EPA requires.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions at all? Madam? No? All right. Thank you. All right, can I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Thank you.
Second.
Great discussion. Seeing none, to the clerk, can you please take the roll?
Council Vice President Vargas,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
Thank you. On to the next item. Petition of Narragansett Electric and Verizon New England Incorporation for installations of conduit in the city right of way along Palmer Avenue. Is your motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion?
I don't know if I can talk now or not, but this request from Narragansett Electric is to install conduit, underground conduit. My understanding of the petitions from Rhode Island Energy, whatever you want to call them, is for pole installations. I could be mistaken again. If it is, I don't know if it's warranted here, but certainly proceed however you want, just giving my 2 cents on that. Typically, that would just be handled with a right-of-way permit in Public Works. Any excavation within the public right-of-way, which is what I see this as. But regardless, that's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Discussion item? Okay. Seeing none, to the clerk, can you please take the roll?
Council Vice President Vargas,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Meeting adjourned. Yep. So ordinance committee meeting will start in 5 minutes. All right. All right, I'm gonna start the ordinance. All right, good evening. Welcome to the Ordinance Committee meeting. It is Thursday, November 16th. To the clerk, can you please have a roll call?
Council President Vargas.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine, Councilwoman Renzulli.
Yes, present.
Councilman Wall,
Here.
Councilman Ferry,
Present.
Councilman Donegan,
Present.
Councilman Campiano,
Present.
Council President Marino.
Present.
Thank you. Next item is the approval of the minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the October 12th, 2023 Ordinance Committee meeting?
So moved.
Second? Second. Second. Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none. Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Council Vice President Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
Thank you. Oh. Is it still off? Committee business matters carried over. Councilwoman Jermaine's. It was Airbnb VRBO. We're going to continue this to the next ordinance committee meeting. To the clerk. Okay, thank you. The next item, it is 8-23-02 ordinance and amendment of Title 10, Chapter 10.32032 of the City of Cranston Code of Ordinance 2005 entitled Stopping, Standing, and Parking on Specific Streets. This is sponsored by Councilman Campo Piano. Thank you. I have a motion to approve.
Council President.
Oh, sorry, go
President,
ahead.
yes. I
Councilman.
am with, after multiple conversations with traffic safety and with the police, I am withdrawing this ordinance.
Let that be noted, that it's being withdrawn. Because it's being withdrawn, I believe there's no motion there's no, vote to be taken. Okay, thank you, sir. On to the next item, 8-23-03, that is ordinance and amendment of Title 12, Chapter 08, Section 050 of the City of Cranston Code of Ordinance 2005 entitled Repairs of Defective Sidewalks. Generally, this is sponsored by Councilwoman Jermaine. Because she is not here with us this evening, I'm also going to continue this for the next Ordinance Committee meeting in December. Next item, again, council member is not here. That is 8-2304. I'd like to continue this to the next Ordinance Committee. Let the record show that Councilwoman Jermaine is here. Councilwoman Jermaine, you were walking in when we were going over your the ordinance, which is 8-2304. This is on the crosswalks enumerated. The last two were already moved over to the next ordinance committee meeting. So we're on the third item down in the on the agenda under section 4. Is your
Sorry, today was sorry. Yes, regarding this ordinance, I had a meeting with Mr. Mateus and the Director of Department of Works, and we had some suggestions. So are you ready to talk about it? Say what was the suggestion, or are we moving forward with it?
As far as the crosswalk, I'm not sure if we're allowed to talk about other suggestions with it not being on the agenda. So I think we have to, I could be wrong, but I think we have to stick to the crosswalk, which as we discussed, you gave some insight to me on what the origin of this ordinance came from, and that's more of a traffic calming issue than a pedestrian safety issue. Introducing a crosswalk on a road that has a traffic calming issue is actually introducing more hazards into the road. You're giving pedestrians a path to walk into the road when the issue here is actually trying to slow down vehicles. So based on our conversation, you may or may not agree. Crosswalks is not the viable answer to solving the issue in this neighborhood.
I did forward the email as I promised to you. So I did receive another email. This person was really impacted personally again. The same person that we know calling about the issue. So for the people listening and for those of you who don't know, this is an issue at the intersection of Grace Street and Pond Street. And what is happening at this intersection is a lot of families are not safe walking in that street. And what happened is many times the drivers, people who are cutting through Grace Street, cutting through Pond Street, to get into Pontiac, they are speeding. They don't really pay attention to the pedestrian, people who are walking their dogs, family walking with their kids and children. And that's always make them like facing each other, arguing, yelling. And this is what's been happening all the time. And one of the suggestion resident proposed is that we have to have something. So that's why I propose a crosswalk, maybe when in this intersection, when they need to go whether to Pond Street or go straight, if there is something that can be done for the safety of the residents. So that's why I propose it. If we can propose a speed bump, and that's one thing also they propose. So as you mentioned, you said crosswalk is not a viable solution. So I would love to hear what can be done in that. What is a viable solution?
Yeah, the first step would be to get a crash analysis in there and police reports. I don't have an answer for you right now. What's a better solution than a crosswalk? The only thing that we have decided was that a crosswalk would not be the best solution here.
Just to embellish what the director said, we could take that information, that feedback back. We could talk to the police department to see what they see. We could talk to our traffic engineer to evaluate that, and happy to get back to you, Councilwoman, with any recommendations, if that's acceptable.
Yes, I did send email to the police about it. They know about this issue already. So we know that the first thing we know, they cannot be there 24/7. So I emailed long time ago, Major I cannot say the word. Patalano. I'm sorry, I'm not here tonight. And he knows about it. And we know as, council, they cannot be there 24/7. So And when I emailed them since last year, they did do, some stationary. And then when they did that, there was like a little slowing down. But the problem still continues. So that's why, we said something has to be done. And if the crosswalk is not possible, can we put a speed bump? And because something has to be done. All right, so as I will continue this until we find a solution. Otherwise, I will move forward with it.
Your prerogative, sure.
Yes.
All right, so woman, you would like to move forward to have,
No, for today, let's continue it until I have an answer. And because as Mr. Matthews and Director Moretti, I think they're gonna sit down and talk it out and to propose something.
Right.
Until then, let's continue it.
we'll continue to the next ordinance committee meeting. Thank you. All right, next item, public hearing and public comment. Is there anyone here to comment on any docketed items only?
I have a question as
Yes,
we cannot come back to the.
we already
other-
know, we've already continued
Okay,
for the next month's ordinance committee meeting.
okay.
All right, we're moving on. Oh, so- Good evening, sir. Your name and address for the record.
No problem. Steve Fries, 107 Garden Hills Drive. Hi there, ladies and gentlemen of the council. Thanks for listening, being here tonight. I'm going to be testifying about the cannabis ordinance. As many of you know, I'm on the planning commission, so I'm just wanted to explain to you why I voted for a positive recommendation. Before I do so, I just want to disclose a couple of things for the record. I do not use nor have ever used marijuana. I told my children not to use it, and when they get older, not to use it. And lastly, I do not profit in any way or expect to profit in any way from people using marijuana. Okay. The reason this ordinance, I thought we gave a positive, at least I gave a vote for positive recommendation, is that if you notice, it's restricted in certain industrial zones, just like we have our growers for marijuana restricted those industrial zones. And we also have buffers of 1,000 feet, 400 feet. If you notice the places where they're have to be from the buffer, it's all locations basically that children congregate, okay? Playgrounds, schools, of that nature. And the reason we do that, as I explained at the planning commission meeting, is because there are studies that show that the proximity of addictive substances where they're sold correlates to their usage by children and others in the community. I'll read you an exact quote from an academic study. 3 systematic reviews, including 135 studies, have found positive associations between neighborhood alcohol availability and alcohol consumption. Research focusing exclusively on children has shown that residential neighborhood alcohol availability is associated with increased alcohol consumption. There's also emerging evidence that alcohol availability in school neighborhoods is associated with alcohol-related outcomes. Interestingly, the strongest associations between alcohol availability and childhood drinking are found in younger children. So the reason that we have all these buffers in the ordinance is so that we have enough distance from children so that they don't have close physical access to it, and also to prevent them from being marketed easily. I thought this was, some people talk about making alcohol comparable to marijuana. I understand that. The state law has certain restrictions on how far. I believe that we have the ability under state law to go further than alcohol if we want to, and I believe it's appropriate for us to be further than alcohol because unlike alcohol, both marijuana and alcohol are addictive substances, but alcohol's been with us and has been widespread and legal for mostly, thousands of years. Marijuana legalization and widespread access to it is really novel. And so I just think we're following a more cautious approach, and then we see what we can find as years go along. Maybe we can maybe reduce the buffers. But to me, I rather err on the side of caution, and that's why I voted for a positive recommendation on this. And I urge you to do so because I believe allowing for people to sell marijuana, let's say Pontiac South and up near Plainfield, these are appropriate locations. And I just want to I don't want to make it harder for parents to raise their kids in a drug-free environment. And therefore, I do not want to have marijuana in Garden City, for example, right next to Newport Creamery where I take my kids. So that's kind of like, to me, that'd be like a big red flag. You guys obviously decide where you want to put it through the ordinance, but please don't put it in Garden City. Don't put it places where kids are going to have fun. That's my point. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer them. That's why I came out tonight. Thanks. I'll see you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here that would like to come and speak on docketed items only, please?
Good evening, council members and everyone. My name is Paul Bedrosian. I'm a member of, resident of Edgewood, Cranston area. I'm here to talk about.
Sir, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Can I have your address for the record?
Sure, 147 Sheldon Street. 02905.
Thank you.
I'm here to talk about the city ordinance amendment, 9-23-05. Which is entitled Industrial Uses. I have some concerns about it as a landlord. I'm a trustee of a trust that owns a couple of laundromats in and around Edgewood area in Cranston. One namely the Edgewood Laundry, which I'm sure most of you are aware that there is a problem, a complaint with some of the neighbors around that. And I think that amending this ordinance to include commercial uses is going to cause a lot of problems for that business, but also may set a precedent for some unforeseen consequences for other businesses in Cranston. And I think that we should, or I think the council should consider looking deeper into this. And also I have a couple of questions about it because it seems like this is, in my opinion, targeting this business specifically. And this is not necessarily, something that Cranston just decided was going to be, I don't think that this ordinance was out of the blue, like, oh, we should include commercial businesses to include this ordinance. I think it was specifically targeted at the Edgewood Laundry. I think that's unfair.
So, sir, unfortunately, we don't go back and Q&A. This is a time where you can share your comments or concerns or anything else that you would like to share on the docketed items. But as a council, we don't engage in back and forth conversations
That's
during
fine.
public comments.
Well, anyway, I'd like to make it known that I think that this is unfairly targeting of this business in particular. But I think it also might, if passed, have implications for other kinds of businesses in Cranston, specifically laundromats, any kind of commercial use that has any equipment that causes any kind of vibrations, that kind of thing. So that's all. Thank you
so much. Thank you. Is there anyone on Zoom that would like to comment on docketed items that you see?
There is no public comment.
Thank you. Comments are now closed. Moving on to the next item. It is new matters before the committee. We have 9-3-01, that is ordinance and amendment of Title 17, Chapter 24 of the City of Cranston, 2005, entitled Performance Standards Generally, adding Section 17.24.50, Retail Sales of Cannabis. This is sponsored by Mayor Hopkins. Is the administration here this evening? You, Director Moretti.
Thank you. The purpose of submitting this ordinance is to put something on the books, just very similar to what Mr. Frias just argued a while ago. The biggest concern the mayor does have is having cannabis sales in neighborhoods, both for families, children, not making it too accessible, frankly, and that's the intent of it. So right now it's isolated in this ordinance to industrial, but certainly the mayor respects the input of the council. If you'd like to have discussion on it, he's willing to modify it as we see fit, but he would like to get something on the books sooner than later. to prohibit, I'll say, the emergence of these businesses and what we would consider inappropriate neighborhoods, and making it a little too accessible, particularly to our youth. So, yeah, subsequently, we're aware that, I guess in Warwick, they have permitted uses in some commercial areas. I think the mayor would be open to consideration should you folks, we want to consider certain commercial areas and restrict it. But he would, request that we stick with that spirit of limiting it to, I'll say, high volume, commercial or industrial uses. So this doesn't have to be the end all, but certainly would like this to be at least the beginning of something to keep our neighborhoods, this away from the youth in the city.
Thank you, Director. Director, does the mayor or does the administration would like to continue the dialogue on this specific topic, or is there a thought for, I can, call for a motion and to second and discuss, but do you feel that you would like to continue for any dialogue, or?
We would appreciate some feedback, if you don't mind having not even a lengthy discussion, but just get your feel if you think this may be it, or unless there's support to say you might want to expand it a bit, that would be certainly.
Okay.
And I just wanted for public discussion dialogue is we really want to just fundamentally introduce for that reason.
Oh.
Certainly we could shoot to pass it. And then if you want to amend it down the road, that's another tack to take also.
Okay, sir. So, I see legal counsel right behind you, and I noticed, I reached out to legal counsel this evening as well on this, who sent an email out to a few of us, and some concerns.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Go ahead.
Separate and apart from the director's comments, from the legal standpoint, this is a fairly comprehensive ordinance, and the state enabling legislation is very detailed, very comprehensive. This has not been completely vetted by the legal department. Just at a brief glance, I've noticed a couple of potential conflicts between the proposed ordinance versus the state enabling legislation. And the way the state enabling legislation is worded, as in most enabling legislations, they give a certain amount of authority to the towns and cities to enact their own local bylaws, they call them rules or ordinances, provided they don't conflict with what the state scheme is. So they do give authority, some authority, but not complete authority, and there could be some conflict. There already is, from what I've seen, and it's only been a brief glance. So as I said, separate and apart from the director's comments, on behalf of the legal department, we would ask for at least one continuance to vet this in more detail. It's very important that we do that.
Okay, if that is the case, then I much rather just strictly move forward on continuing this to the next ordinance committee meeting, as opposed to having continuous discussion this evening on this. So that way, the mayor's legal team and administration can just chat a little bit more on this. If directors.
I do just want to note that draft came from the solicitor's department. So I guess there is internal conflict with that. Certainly we defer to Mr. Verdecchi's advice.
Okay, so that being said, I'll continue this for the next ordinance committee meeting.
That's fine. It just,
I
for the
think what
record-
happens internally is not,
Well, we had,
Press and discuss right now.
myself and Solicitor Malay today had some brief conversation about it. I was not involved directly with the drafting. So I think we all need to just get our heads together. As I said, it's complex. There's a lot of moving parts. We just want to make sure we get it right, and we'll get everybody in the same room, and we'll do that.
great. Nope, that's not a problem. So we'll, with no objection from the administration and based on the legal counsel, we'll move this to the next ordinance committee meeting. All right, Next item is 9-2305. That is ordinance amendment.
Chair,
Chair? Do we need a motion?
I just was gonna ask that.
Sorry, I apologize. There should be a motion. I apologize. Yes, is there a motion to continue?
I'll motion to continue.
Second,
Is there a discussion? Seeing none? The clerk, can you please take a roll?
Council Vice President Vargas.
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Councilwoman Jermaine, sorry.
Next item is 9-23-05. That is ordinance and amendment of Title 17 zoning, Chapter 17.36.010 of the City of Cranston, 2005, entitled Industrial Uses. This is sponsored by Council President Marino. Council President Marino?
Yes, thank you. All right, this ordinance is amending an existing ordinance that is already on the books, so in its existing form before these amendments, basically this ordinance provides for different protections and oversight on the part of the city with respect to some industrial and commercially zoned uses within the city. The amendments that are made, the intention with those amendments is to have this ordinance provide those same protections and city oversight of industrial and commercial uses when they occur outside of the zoned areas of industrial and commercial. Frankly, it's a matter of common sense that we would want to provide as a city the same protections if an existing industrial or commercial business is operating in a residential neighborhood. It is a one-size-fits-all, and it makes sense across the city. It did receive a positive recommendation from the City Plan Commission. I believe the clerk had forwarded that to all the council members as well. With that being said, I've spoken to legal counsel as well. There are some additional amendments that we'd like to make to tweak. And I'd like to have some further discussions with the administration in terms of implementation of this. Again, it's an ordinance that's already on the books. It would just be affording those additional protections for those same business uses when they occur outside of industrial and commercial zones. Okay. So I prefer that we make a motion to continue this to December 7th Ordinance Committee meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Great. Thank you, Council President. There is a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Madam Clerk, if you can take the roll.
Council Vice President Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
yes.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Council President Marino.
Yes.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No? All right, ayes have it. Meeting adjourned.